and he took her and he looked down at her and then he looked up at me and he had this look on his face and he was like, "Oh, Mama." He said, "She is beautiful. I love her." And I'm like, "Oh, thank God."
So I guess the bigger question is this: if you are a psychopath, a true psychopath, and you commit a heinous crime, act out your psychopathic tendencies, and you are a child, should you spend the rest of your life behind bars? But first, let's turn to KTXS 12, where they have an article written from 2012 that had provided an update on this young man. It goes, Abilene teen to serve remainder of 40-year sentence for killing 4-year-old sister in adult prison. He was sentenced to 40 years in state custody and has been held in a Texas Juvenile Justice Department facility in Giddings. Bennett had turned 19 in October, and the juvenile facility could not hold offenders past that age. Since then, he has been serving his time at an adult correctional facility. Now, I wanted to read that article just to provide some context to this individual who has been in prison since he was 13 years old, was transferred to an adult prison at 18, and is now currently 32 years of age. One more thing that I think is of importance to understand before we go into this interview is the definition of psychopathy as told to us by the National Library of Medicine, where they say psychopathy is a neuropsychiatric disorder marked by deficient emotional responses, lack of empathy, and poor behavioral controls, commonly resulting in persistent antisocial deviance and criminal behavior. But that is enough talking. Now let's move on to the interview with Piers Morgan and the psychopath known as Paris Lee Bennett.
I've seen video footage. I've seen still photographs of you together. You playing the role of perhaps protective older brother, her as the cheeky, mischievous younger sister. Can you rationalize or explain now how you came to do what you did to your sister?
I don't think I can easily explain everything, because if I could, we wouldn't be talking about it 12 years later. For many, many years, there was just this hot, flaming ball of wrath in the pit of my stomach, and it was directed at my mother. And one of the reasons why I chose to kill my sister and not someone else is because I knew that by doing so, I could hurt my mother in the worst possible way.
First thing that pops out to me about this individual is the fact that he talks about having this glowing hot wrath that bubbles up in him. And it's like, it's not the first time we've heard killers talk about like this other demon. There are several cases you can watch online of like law enforcement investigations where they talk to the killer. They know is the killer, and this person tries to disassociate themselves with the person that's committed a heinous crime by saying, I have a dark passenger. What's interesting to me about this particular individual, outside of just the complete lack of emotion on his face and in his eyes, is this attempt to disassociate, but then also the recognition of, I didn't just lash out at the closest thing to me, the closest person to me. No, there was a thought to who I was going to kill and why I was going to kill them. But then add on to that the fact that he didn't even really care about killing his sister. As he tells us, he cared about inflicting the maximum amount of pain on his mother. So it's more than just I enjoy killing. It's the thought of he enjoys torture.
A person who has normal empathy, normal emotions, when they talk about their crime, you can see it. They have a tell. They tremble, they look down, their faces blanch, they get red, their voices begin to crack, because it is evoking genuine emotions and feelings from that memory. He has none of that.
Very good memory, I'm told. Like really almost a photographic memory of stuff. Do you remember the day of the murder very acutely? Is it a very vivid memory?
I remember impressions more than I do vivid memories. It's not like there's a film in my head that I can just play whenever I want to. That's really all I can say about it. There are parts that are very, very clear, and there are parts that are hard to remember.
We're asking questions about what it is to be human. What commonalities you and I share, regardless of our backgrounds, the similarities, right? And then when we spot the differences, what may cause those differences? The thing that I find fascinating about the memory topic is to do something like that and then be like, oh, I don't really remember what happened that night, to me seems to be further proof of setting up a defense, setting up a scenario where, hey, the person that did this, I am not, which is why I can't remember what happened. It's just these fleeting imageries of somebody doing something and I was just kind of along for the ride, which makes me wonder, and I'm going to ask you all, do you think he's lying here?
Kiss your sister. Ella loves her big brother. Say hello. These are my children.
At the time of the murder, Charity was working in a restaurant while studying for a master's in education. She was a single mother, but her family were well off and her children had a comfortable upbringing.
I said stop a minute.
Y'all are so serious.
They seemed like a normal family to me. He was a good big brother. I remember hearing that he'd help her pick out her outfit. She very much would depend on him for fashion.
Help me out here, because my brother and I had also talked about this when it came to a true psychopath and how they manifest themselves, right? We have an individual who from a young age, people are around, family, friends, teachers, and nobody, including the mother, sees any signs that there's anything wrong with Paris. Which means to me, for the most part, right, he plays normally, he expresses affection, at least he expresses it in a way that he fools everybody around him. Even the home videos we see, right, of him interacting with his sister seems to show a boy who loves his sibling. But then when we go to where he's at now, and I think he's somewhere in his 30s in this interview, and just the complete lack of emotion, I go, how can a person like this fool anybody? Because as you all, I'm assuming, are feeling right now, you read him as something is deeply wrong with this man. I am getting nothing from him. And then you add on to that the fact that he seemed like he was loved. The mother has so many home videos of them. It seems like she was, from her own admission, it seems like she was a very attentive mother. And yet still she was able to somehow produce a child that was able to, with no remorse, murder his baby sister. And I'm not blaming the mother here at all, but what I guess the question I'm asking you all is, does that seem to suggest that in the argument of nature versus nurture, nature has more of an impact on an individual? Like, was there ever a point where somebody could have came in, recognized these signs, and course corrected? Or would he have always felt this way?
House, and she was asleep at that stage. Is that right? And you take a large knife and you go into her room and you stab her twice at the start of this process. When that happened, you could have saved.
No. Just one more time. Listen to what he says and listen to how the individual Paris reacts to it.
And you go into her room and you stab her twice at the start of this process. When that happened, you could have saved her. You could have called the...
I might have just told him that, you know, today it's going to be 68 degrees, little overcast, good chance that you should stay inside, maybe watch a movie with a loved one.
I remember that it was like I was struggling with myself. And this isn't meant to suggest that I hear voices or that I'm crazy or anything, but it's almost like one part of me was the part of me that knew what I was doing was wrong. It was the part that loved my sister and would have turned the world upside down for her. And the other part was the wounded, twisted, dark part, the part that had been in pain for so long.
Again, I stress the fact that this individual makes it sound like there's this inner thing within him that he just couldn't control, and it lashed out in the moment, and like his sister was an unfortunate victim to it. But that's not the case. We're talking about a 13-year-old boy who sent his babysitter away, then went to his sister's room, murdered her, but not because of her. He wasn't trying to inflict pain on his baby sister, or maybe he was, but that was like an unintended side effect of what he was doing. He still, at the end of the day, wanted to hurt his mother, and that's the thing that I go like, no, that's you, man. That's not a monster inside of you. Otherwise, the monster would just be lashing out at the nearest thing.
They're about to play you that 911 call. Paris sounds convincing, but forensic evidence has proved that he is lying.
Abilene 911.
I accidentally killed somebody.
You think you killed somebody?
My sister, I stabbed her.
Okay, where'd you stab her?
Lots of places. I didn't mean to.
I know. Let's go ahead and try CPR, okay? I want you to put your hands on her chest, but I want you to push 30 times.
All right.
Go ahead, count.
He counts along with the 911 operator. 1, 2, 3. When in fact he was just walking around with the phone.
He wasn't even in the bedroom.
He fakes that he's doing it.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry that you all had to hear that. I recognize that that is a traumatic thing to hear just because of the context of what is occurring there. And we are wrapping up here soon. I highly suggest that you watch the full interview. Obviously, I can't play it. He faked performing CPR. There is no remorse, no guilt, no attempt to save his baby sister's life. It is, I'm walking on the phone, building my alibi by pretending like I'm giving life-saving measures. Listen to the words.
1, 2, 3, 4.
He does not feel anything. He walks around like it is a Tuesday afternoon, like he is in damn Central Park enjoying a sunny day.
Paris has a new brother, Phoenix.
Thank you, love.
He is the good guy and I got the bad guy.
Yeah? What's the bad guy's name?
The experts believe he is likely to be in danger when Paris is released. They've never met, but they've often spoken on the phone. What are your feelings towards Phoenix, who is your half-brother?
I love Phoenix in a very deep and strong way.
This is the moment where some people go, this seems like a bad decision, right? That line I was talking about where as a parent, you can love somebody from a distance, but recognize they are a danger and you need to separate yourselves from them. It's one thing to put your own life at risk, continue to associate with the child. Minimal risk, but still risk. Why would you put yourself through that possible scenario? Why would you allow him to form these type of like associations would be the best word with this new child? And I'm not talking about a healthy association, an association of here's another way to hurt my mother. I want to turn here to the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, where you can find Bennett Paris Lee, who is currently age 32, not supposed to be released until 2047, but has a parole eligibility date of February 5th, 2027. And it's fascinating because me and my brother had this conversation and he played devil's advocate in it and he did a good job of it. And I love devil's advocate because it forces you to think, because my initial answer was simply no. No, you cannot release a psychopath back into society. Yes, even a child psychopath, to me, should spend the rest of their life behind bars. And before I get to my thoughts, I want to say that his thoughts were, wow, it's a lot to process, because when you say it, you understand why you're saying it. But at the same time, you go, so a kid, a 13-year-old kid at this point, is forced to live from 13 until the day they die, only knowing a jail cell, right? Like there's something inhumane about that to him. And he has a point. It does sound harsh. But my stance remains the same, simply because, one, when we're talking about a psychopath, as the experts showed, as he shows when you watch his mannerisms, as he's talked about it, foundationally, something is different about this person. It'd be one thing if we were saying, no, it was external circumstances that forced him to be this way, because then maybe there's a chance of rehabilitating this person. Maybe there's a chance of implementing enough countermeasures to offset the trouble that he experienced to reintegrate him into society and give him the tools to function. Hell, even if you were to meet a psychopath early on in life and recognize they're a psychopath, but give them the tools so that they never act upon it, I go, you can't punish a kid for something they've never done. But if the kid has already gone down the road of committing the heinous act, and in this case, murdering their sibling, you cannot then come back and expect me to go, that person has a place in society regardless of the age. That person is forever a danger, because we recognize that they don't feel empathy like we feel empathy. There's no guilt like we feel guilt. There's no remorse like we feel remorse. Humans are the most complex creatures on this damn planet. It is something that we can never be put into a damn box. Even as people try to replicate us through AI, there are simply people amongst us that cannot be fixed. The best we can do is remove you from society and give you the best tools that we can to make your life as non-torturous as possible. And last but not least, again, it would be different if even in this interview you saw some type of remorse, some type of guilt, but you don't.
I just want to show you before we finish just a picture of your sister, Ella. That's her just before she died. Beautiful young girl with her whole life at her. What do you feel when you look at that picture?
I feel like I don't deserve to be shown that picture.
What do you mean?
I am the reason why that every picture of my sister is only of her as a girl. I am the reason why there are no pictures of her at age 5 or 6 or 7 or beyond. I'm the reason why that you will never have new pictures of her. And I don't deserve to look at that picture.
But I could be wrong, and you could have a different opinion, which is why I wanted to pose this interview to you all. I'm very curious to hear what you all think about this man known as Paris Bennett. Again, he is scheduled for parole in February of 2027. Do you think that there is a scenario where he should be allowed to go free to live the rest of his life semi-normally amongst the people again? Do you see that world? Let me know your thoughts. I was your host, JLW, and I will holler at you all later.